Let's get right into this damn thing. The football show. This is the recap version. This is later. We usually do this on Tuesdays live on Twitch, but we are having to do it on Wednesday because we had Tuesday night football. I think for the second time in 70 years or something, there was a NFL game on a Tuesday night. So unprecedented times. In that game, the Tennessee Titans slapped up the Buffalo Bills. Now, we're going to go through all of the action we saw in Week 5 of the NFL, and we're going to go over our new power rankings, which will certainly see some shakeups. We saw a lot of crazy stuff happen in the NFL, and there's a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and get it on. Let's start with, we already talked about the Thursday night football on the last show, so we're not gonna go back and talk about Bears Bucks. So let's start with Panthers Falcons. So the Falcons lose again, 23-16 in Atlanta. After this game, Dan Quinn was fired. We have been saying on the show that there's 4 or 5 coaches who absolutely should be fired. Dan Quinn was one of them. Bill O'Brien was one of them. Adam Gase is one. Anthony Lynn is one. And Quinn got the cut. Now this is a long time coming, and Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, is known to be patient. He's known as a guy who does not like to fire coaches in the middle of the season. So I was not expecting this at all. Now, this is a good move. It's obviously needed to happen. The question is now, what the hell happens? What do you do? I mean, you do not have a winning core. You do not have a winning roster. You just fired your coach. So what do? In my opinion, you do not hire a coach until next season, because when you're doing this, when you're full on rebuilding, it's really important you get a coach that's going to rebuild to whatever your strengths are. I.e., if you draft a quarterback, let's just say they get Trevor Lawrence. If you draft Trevor Lawrence, it's important, it's paramount, it's imperative that they go and get a coach who will make Trevor Lawrence's development easier. You don't go hire a defensive line coach when you draft a quarterback. So it depends on what they're trying to do moving forward. Now, in the next little bit here, I think what they should do is offload everybody. Offload Todd Gurley, offload Julio Jones, offload any talent you have. Get rid of it. Trade it, get picks, stock picks, get young players, offload your money, any big contracts, get rid of it. That's the next step for the Falcons. But firing Dan Quinn was a good move here. As far as the game itself, 23-16, Panthers get a win. Panthers continue to impress. I mean, I'm not too surprised. We've been kind of waxing poetic about David Tepper and about Matt Rule and about the organization. And, I said that in 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they were in the Super Bowl. But I didn't expect them to be 3-2 in the first 5 games. I didn't expect them to be doing this well this early. This is something that it caught me by surprise, certainly. Without Christian McCaffrey, this team doing this, let's just say they continue this, right? And let's say they finish something like, 9-7. Or let's just say they're 8-8. 8-8 in the first year of Tepper, Rule, the first year of Bridgewater as a quarterback, the first year, no Christian McCaffrey. Like, this team will get better. So this being a barometer of how good they are is pretty impressive. I don't think they're a division, threat. I don't think the Saints have to worry about them or the Bucks have to worry about them. Obviously, the Falcons are total garbage. But if you're a Panthers fan, you're feeling absolutely incredible. Next up, Raiders and Chiefs. Big surprise. Huge surprise. I got skewered by all the cucks on YouTube who the only reason they wake up every single morning is to throw barbs at me, but hey, whatever. Something that I loved, a quote I heard a long time ago. I think Christopher Hitchens actually said it, but I'm not sure who the quote is from. To repeat that, because it might have sounded confusing. I heard Christopher Hitchens say it, but he didn't coin it. He just was borrowing it from somebody else. But it was something like, "I don't mind if you boo me because I know what makes you cheer." And that's exactly how I feel about all the cucks in the YouTube comments who can't wait to get after me. But anyways, the reason they got after me is because I've been saying the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. I've been saying that there's a pretty big gap, really, between the Chiefs and everyone else, and the Chiefs probably haven't hit their stride yet, and you can go ahead and pencil them in the Super Bowl. And everyone believes that this game right here changes that. Look, Raiders win 40-32. The Chiefs is their first loss since November 2019. Do y'all remember 2019? I sure as hell don't. Anything before 2020 might as well not even existed. So that's a long-ass time ago. Let's look at the box score. Patrick Mahomes, 22 of 43, really bad. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Derek Carr, 22 for 31, 347, 3 touchdowns. One of the best games of Derek Carr's career. Running, not much happening on either side. Henry Ruggs, 2 receptions for 118 yards. I never want to give up the deep ball like that. Travis Kelce did most of the work for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll say this. I may have been downplaying the Raiders. The Raiders, I'll tell you what this does. This makes the Saints look a lot better. I mean, if you think about the Saints, so the Saints play the Raiders in their first game on Monday night in Vegas, lose that game. They lose to the Packers. They beat the Chargers, who took the Chiefs to overtime. So this is one of those games you look at, you're like, well, shit, I thought the Raiders were a below average team, but if they're actually well above average, it makes some other games look a lot better. As far as this game, look, it's easy to say don't worry about it, but don't worry about it. This is a big deal because it's a divisional game, so it could mess up some stuff there. I don't think the Chiefs were ever going to go 16-0. I don't think the Chiefs should be worried about this. Let's say they drop another one and they go 14-2. Is that a big deal? No. If you go 14-2, that's pretty damn sweet. If you go 13-3, that's pretty damn sweet. 12-4 is pretty sweet. So I don't think the Chiefs are worried whatsoever. Look, here's the deal. The Chiefs are a playoff team. The Chiefs are a perennial conference championship team. The Chiefs are still the best team in the NFL. They won't be number one in my power rankings, but they are the team that is, I would say, if I was a betting man, I would pick to win the Super Bowl. What this does for me is I have to take the Raiders a lot more serious. The Raiders, the reason I've been low on the Raiders is honestly because of John Gruden. I don't think John Gruden is caught up to the progressive, the new play style or whatever of the NFL. But this is one of those things where, hey, look, whatever he's doing is working. And if it's working, it's working. He's got good players in Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, Henry Ruggs. And if they're putting together game plans to beat the Chiefs on the road, then what are you going to do? Is John Gruden a big game coach? Is John Gruden just a good schematic guy against the Saints, against the Chiefs, and then he'll go and drop one to the Dolphins or whatever? I don't know about that. But this is a very, very good win for Vegas. I still don't think the Raiders are particularly good. I think they're probably one of those above average teams. They're probably a 10 win. With wins like this, it's probably like a 10 or 11 win team, and that will get you in the playoffs. So maybe they are a playoff team, especially with 3 wild cards now, but I still don't have a very high ceiling for the Raiders. Move on. Cardinals, Jets. No surprise here. Cardinals 30-10. Let's take a look at the box score here. So Kyler Murray, something we said he had to do was expand a little bit of his tosses. He went 27 of 37 for 380 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. That's pretty good. That's much better than the 4-yard average that we've seen from him. On the other side of the ball, what do you want me to say? Joe Flacco was a starting quarterback. He went 18 of 33 for 195 yards and a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell, 13 carries, 60 yards. The importance of this game, and what we'll talk about with this game, is that Le'Veon Bell no longer plays for the New York Jets. Le'Veon Bell was cut by the New York Jets. He was released. I mean, look, what the hell? What are the Jets doing? This is one of those things where I honestly think the NFL should step in and take control of this franchise. Because right now, whatever is going on, whether it's Gase, whether it's the front office, whatever it is, they are not running this organization correctly. And they are not running this organization to foster winning, to even try to win, to do anything. This is the point now to where this organization is a blight on the NFL. The NFL is being negatively affected by how bad this organization is. Every single game the Jets play is unwatchable. Every single game the Jets play is irrelevant. And you don't want that. I really do think this Le'Veon Bell thing is a good example of an organization who just flat out cannot control this team. And the NFL needs to step in, get involved, and right the ship. It happens. This is something that happens. If a front office fails, if an ownership group fails, the governing body, which is the league, whether it's the NFL, whether it's the NBA, whether it's the MLB, they have to step in and make sure that their assets being the NFL and the NFL TV deals, are still profitable and they're still happening. Now, I'm not saying the Jets are going to tank the entire NFL, but they are getting to the point to where they are a black hole. So I think that they have to step in. The Jets, I mean, unbelievable. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have a feeling Le'Veon Bell is probably going to get signed on a minimum contract. He's probably going to go to New England, and he'll probably be the best player in the league. I mean, he's a super talented player in a very, very bad organization. I think, if New England picks up Le'Veon Bell, or even Pittsburgh or teams like that who just need a running back, need a dynamic player, missing that one little bit there, he can offer a lot to those teams. Even someone like the Chiefs. I mean, imagine if the Chiefs went and got Le'Veon Bell. The Chiefs don't really need him. They have a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I think is fine, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not Le'Veon Bell. So that would be a huge get. The Rams are another team that he'd be a huge get for. There are a ton of teams that Le'Veon would be fantastic for. So I think he'll land on his feet. I think he'll be fine. But imagine you're a Jets player. Imagine you're a player for the Jets, and you're on that roster. You're going to training every single week. You're our practice every single week. You're going to the games. You're doing all that stuff. How can you be motivated to do this? It is a Titanic sinking ship. Have you ever seen the Titanic? Have you ever seen the scene at the very end when the guy's playing the music? They quit, and then they go, and they're like, oh, well, we might as well keep playing because we're going to die anyways. That's the Jets. Like, how can you be working out? How can you be taking care of yourself? How can you care at all if you're a player? I sure as hell wouldn't. I wouldn't give a damn if I was the Jets. Man, I mean, you talk about what a failed organization. Cardinals, it's hard for me to even be like, good win because the Jets, but it is good to see Kyler Murray pushing the ball a little bit downfield. I mean, he's a weird player because I like Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is good, but Kyler Murray and this offense cannot fall into the trap of throwing 4-yard, 5-yard passes every game, all game, and hope that wins in the NFL. He has to trust himself. His coaches have to trust him to make the big play downfield. He obviously did in this game, but it is the Jets. So if we take a look at Kyler Murray, if we're going to have the year, I was trying to find his yearly stats. I might have to go to Pro Football Focus or something. But if you look at right here, is it not going to give it to me? All right, the average right here, like the game against Carolina, this 4.3 average, that's just so bad. Even this 5.8 is not good. You want Kyler Murray to be in the 7.5 to 7 yards per completion. You want that to be somewhere in there. The Jets game, 10.3 average, really, really good. 7.7 is fine. 7.5 is lacking a little bit. They did win that game, so it is whatever, But you got to stay away from the 4.3s. Got to stay away from the 5.8s. And we move on. If I can get back to the schedule here. For some reason, I'm stuck in a Kyler Murray black hole. All right, the next up. Man, I've had to do some real movement there. All right. Next up, Eagles-Steelers. Good win for the Steelers. This is a tough game for the Eagles, though. Coming off of a huge win on prime time. They're going to play the Steelers in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are really good. The Steelers are one of those teams where they have what you need in the NFL, and that is a good front seven. You have to be able to get after the quarterback. These Steelers can, and their offense is good enough to do things. I mean, 38 points is pretty solid. Philadelphia is certainly not the defensive stalwarts of the NFL, but this is a good win for Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's a dangerous team. I say that every week, but they have assets all over the field. They have a great defense. They have a good offense. They have a guy who can manage the game, Ben Roethlisberger, a guy who you can trust. They also have good coaching. The Steelers are a team to watch, especially with the Chiefs kind of looking like they're a little, kind of stumbling here. If we're in a situation where the AFC is wide open, Pittsburgh can step in and be a AFC Championship team in a heartbeat. So, yeah, great win from Pittsburgh. Philadelphia, this is a tough game for them. They weren't supposed to win this game. They were, I think, 7-point dogs at kickoff. So this is what it is. I wouldn't take too much from this. The Eagles, I would say, are like a 6 to 8 win team, somewhere in there. They're fighting through a really bad division. This is the thing with Philadelphia. They had to be careful every week because they got to pick their spots. If you're Philadelphia, you're basically 6 wins away from the playoffs, especially with Dallas with Dak going down. So if you look at them, they have the Ravens coming up, lost. Giants win. Cowboys got to be a win. Giants win. If Man, I almost had a stroke there. This game with the Giants, November 1st, and then their game on December 27th. Those are the games. If they win those games, or if they even split those games and win the other divisional games, this is your divisional winner. This team is hosting a playoff game. Look, the NFC East is really bad. And now that Dak Prescott is out, Dallas is not going to be guaranteeing wins any week. So if you're Philadelphia, you kind of circle these games. Ravens, like I said, that's a loss. But they go Giants, Cowboys, Giants, Browns, Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys, Washington. Actually, a really hard schedule, a really tough schedule. But if they can sneak a win against the Browns or sneak a win somewhere in there, take care of business against the division, this is a team that could be hosting a playoff game. So that's what Philadelphia has to have the eyes on the prize. They don't need to be worrying about games like this against Pittsburgh, games like Baltimore. They just got to take care of business trying to host a playoff game. Next up, Rams, Washington. 30-10 win from the Rams on the road. Really impressive win here. Washington, I mean, look, I keep saying that every game. But Washington had to go to Alex Smith. Kyle Allen got hurt. Alex Smith came in. Alex Smith was not good. I don't know. I'm not going to say he wasn't ready to play. I'm not going to say he shouldn't have played. They benched Dwayne Haskins. Allen gets hurt. Smith comes in. I mean, Alex Smith completed 9 passes of 17 attempts for 37 yards. He was sacked 6 times. I think they had like 18 negative plays or something in the second half. So Washington was completely outclassed in this game. They didn't even look like an NFL team. Running back wise, Gibson, I'm not even sure who the hell this guy is. Gibson had 11 carries for 27 yards, which is really, really bad. They did not have a carry for more than 6 yards from a running back. Kyle Allen had the longest run of 1 carry for 7 yards and a touchdown. This was bad. This was real bad. I've been on record saying that I don't mind what Washington's doing, but I mean, and it is unfortunate Kyle Allen got hurt. You never know what this game could have been if he doesn't get hurt. Maybe they could have been competitive. I mean, it had to be better than this. But Alex Smith, I think he probably is the comeback player of the year. He certainly has a reason to win the award. The fact that he's walking is incredible. The fact that he played an NFL game is incredible. Him getting sacked 6 times isn't awesome. Honestly, for him and his family, and I have no idea what his physical situation actually is like, but you almost would have a conversation with him like, look, man, you did what you wanted to do. You did what no one thought you could possibly do. You came back, you played in the game, but maybe it's time to walk away now. Like you did it. Why risk further injury? You have kids, you have a wife, you have all this stuff. Think about them. 6 sacks. Aaron Donald just ripping him apart. I don't know if Alex Smith needs to be in that situation, but incredible that he came back at all. Like I said, I think he should win the comeback player of the year regardless. I think it's a regardless situation. Comeback player of the year, give it to Alex Smith. No questions asked. 100%. What a performance. Or just what a warrior. If you haven't watched the documentary, Project 11, I think it's called, go watch it. It talks about his recovery. It is unbelievable what Alex Smith went through to walk again, much less play in the NFL. What a warrior. What a guy. As far as Washington, I don't think this is going to be it every week. Again, they had Kyle Allen penciled in for the quarterback. He was playing okay. Had to go to Alex Smith, who's obviously limited. So, I mean, Washington is a 3 to or 2. I'm not gonna say 2, but they're like a 3 to 5 win team somewhere in there. They can handle teams. This was an aberration, I believe. But the thing with this is they got to figure out their quarterback. If Dwayne Haskins isn't going to be their quarterback, if Dwayne Haskins is not the guy, I don't think Kyle Allen's terrible. I mean, I don't think he's a probably bottom 10 quarterback, bottom 5 quarterback, but I don't think he's inept. I don't think he's a situation where he cannot play the game like some people we've seen, like Daniel Jones. I think he's a little bit better than that. And if Haskins is not, we talked about this last week, but if Haskins is not preparing for games, which is why he got benched, then Allen has to be a huge upgrade. They just don't have much else going on Ron Rivera. I mean, you think about this team, right? Like, think about what Washington's going through. Ron Rivera is having cancer treatments right now. Alex Smith is coming back from one of the most gruesome, maybe the most gruesome injury in the NFL history, especially when you consider the infection and all that stuff. I mean, this team is going through so much. The fact that they're doing anything is impressive. So I tip my cap to Washington. I really do. As far as the Rams, Sean McVay has this team playing. Bottom line, Sean McVay has this team moving. I mean, this is what he's good at. I think this is where he really shines, is whenever he has to kind of play chess. You know, he struggled a little bit whenever it was like they took the chess pieces away. Whenever they took away because of salary and because of contracts, you know, he lost a few players and all that, and Jared Goff didn't develop like he thought he would. But he's back to the situation now where he's kind of just chess piecing these games together. And the Rams are a really good team in the NFC. They are that. I mean, Jared Goff, we say it every week, if you let him do what he can do, he's going to be really good. He has one of the best arms in the NFL. He can make every throw. He's a beautiful passer. It's just the question is, will the defense allow him to do that? If you let him sit back, do play action, roll out a little bit, dump passes off, do one or two reads, he will eat you up every single day. If you pressure him, hit him, knock him around, get in his face, all that, he don't like that. He will shut down. He will not play well. Obviously, he did whatever he wanted in this game, 21-30 for 390 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But yeah, the Rams are good. I would not want to play LA. They've had a tough schedule. I'll give them that. Like, they had to play, obviously, the Cowboys in primetime. Then they had to go all the way to Philly, play Philly. Then they played the Bills to a close one. Then they play the Giants back in LA. Then they go to Washington. Then they go back to California, to San Francisco. I mean, this schedule is not easy. I mean, look at the travel. They go, so I'm just going to read off the schedule. We're going to do it again. Starting in LA, they play the Cowboys. Then they go to Philadelphia. Then they stay over there, play the Bills. Then they go back to California, play the Giants. Then they go back cross country and play the Redskins. Then they go back cross country and play the 49ers. Then they stay in California, play the Bears. Then they go all the way to Miami, play the Dolphins. Then they go back to California, play the Seahawks. Then they go back to Florida and play the Buccaneers. Then they go back to California and play the Niners at home. Then they go to Arizona, not that bad. Then they play New England at home, the Jets at home, Seahawks in Seattle, not too bad in Arizona. So they make like 6 cross-country trips. So whoever did the scheduling for the Rams, tough scenes. But yeah, really good team. I think the Rams are certainly a playoff team and could be sneaky in the NFC. Next game. Bengals-Ravens. So this was rough. This was a game Joe Burrow had his first truly bad game. This was bad. This was not what you want to see from Joe Burrow. 2 fumbles. One of them lost. 19-30 for 183 yards, no touchdowns, and interception, a 5.7 QBR, sacked 7 times. This was rough from Joey Burrow. 24 carries for 59 yards from Joe Mixon. This was really bad too. It always tickles me. It always tickles me whenever I see stuff like this. Joe Mixon goes 19 carries for 69 yards. Y'all want to guess which game I bet against the Bengals? Y'all want to guess which game I bet against the Bengals? Here's Joe Mixon. Here's his yards this year. 69, 46, 49, 151, and 59. You want to guess which game Joe Mixon decided to I bet against him? Was the 25 carries for 151 yards. His average, 3.6, 2.9, 2.9, 6.0, 2.5. Anybody want to guess? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, this was a really poor performance here. Baltimore has a really good defense. Joe Burrow is still a rookie. I've been saying this for the season. Joe Burrow is light years ahead of where an NFL rookie should be as far as how he looks and how he feels the game. But like I said previously, the results as far as like what Cincinnati's doing offensively, the yards, all that stuff, what they are doing is not very good. I think Joe Burrow is good, but it's one of those things where it's more of a he looks good, he seems fine. But then Cincinnati's offense just is not that good. And it seems like those contradict each other. Like, how can Joe Burrow be good if the offense is not good? And it's just one of those deals where he checks the boxes of, is the game too fast? Can he make the plays? Can he handle pressure? All that stuff. But it's still Cincinnati. Joe Burrow getting sacked 7 times, not good, right? We're going to chat real quick here. Offense was bad. Defense was really, really good. We actually shut down Baltimore first time under 30 since like over a year ago. Yeah, I mean, Baltimore scoring 27 points, you're okay with that. You're 100% okay with that. Lamar Jackson running 2 times for 3 yards, sure. 19 to 37, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick for Lamar, sure. This was not a terrible performance across the board from Cincinnati. This was more of just their offense being completely inept. I saw some stuff on social media about the coaching crew, which I believe I was the first person in the media to voice that concern. Joe Burrow is at the mercy of this franchise. Joe Burrow is at the mercy of the franchise. If the franchise cannot prop up Joe Burrow, then that's going to be really bad for him in his career. I had a conversation with someone. They were asking me about Joe Burrow and about Cincinnati and what a ceiling is. I think Joe Burrow's individual ceiling is limitless, but it's just, can the organization overcome whatever the hell they've been dealing with for the past 10 years and finally put some stuff together? And now you may say we were good. You may say the Cincinnati Bengals have had good seasons. That's very different than an organizational structure. Cincinnati has to figure that out before they can figure out Joe Burrow. I'll tell you this, too. This is a bit of a hot take. I'm not so sure. I'm trying to think how I can word this. As much as Joe Burrow has been good, and as much as we've talked about Joe Burrow, I don't think it's crazy to say that Justin Herbert is the better rookie quarterback. And that says a whole lot about Justin Herbert. The two players are similar, what they're doing. Right now, if I had a rookie of the year vote right now, I would vote for Justin Herbert. And I love Joe Burrow. I've said a lot of great stuff about Joe Burrow. But I think right now, I would vote for Justin Herbert as far as who is the better of the two this season, or who has been the better of the two. I also want to say something about rookie quarterbacks. This is a bit of a theory that I have. We've seen rookie quarterbacks look really, really good this year, specifically Herbert and Burrow. And you wonder why, right? You wonder why rookie quarterbacks are looking so good. Is this just a special class? Is this kind of like when LeBron and Carmelo were rookies and it was a little bit different? I want you to think about this. This is as easy as it can get playing, as far as like in the game, for a rookie quarterback as it ever has been in the NFL. Now, yes, preparation-wise, very different as far as training camp and all that stuff, 100%. But I mean, in the game, during the 4 quarters, think about how much easier it is for these guys. Think about how much easier it is for these people or these quarterbacks to not deal with the crowd, not deal with the noise, to be able to take their time, hear everything, hear the coaches, make the play calls, shift the offensive line, all of that. That is a really big deal. I remember right whenever coronavirus or quarantine kicked off, I remember in the Premier League over in Europe, all the European soccer leagues, they were saying that the no fans were benefiting the younger players because the younger players didn't have to deal with the nerves. They didn't have to deal with the idea that, people are watching and people are jeering me and booing me and all this other stuff. And they were just being able to play. And these younger players now are so much physically better than they were back then. A rookie, like when Matt Leinart was a rookie, Matt Leinart wasn't physically more gifted than anybody else on the field. He was just another guy. But now you're seeing these super physically gifted players, even like Joe Burrow, even Justin Herbert, who are, Justin Herbert, whatever he is, 6'6", has a cannon arm, throwing it 70 yards in the air, can run the ball. Joe Burrow, he can run, he can throw, he can do all that stuff. They are allowed to let their physical abilities take over. And I think that's why you're seeing these players really, really succeed. I mean, think about what Justin Herbert did in New Orleans. He goes up to the line. There's no noise. He can shift the protection. He can shift this. He can call audibles. He can call the play. He can do hard counts, whatever. How much different do you think that is for Justin Herbert when he has 80,000 people in the Superdome screaming, when he cannot hear, when he can't do any of that stuff? You see how hard it is for people like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady when they go into the Dome or when they go into these places. These just being practice is whenever you can let your physical attributes really shine. And I think that's why you're seeing Herbert and Burrow and whoever else, look this good. With that being said, I think Miami has to get, Miami has to get Tua going now because of how easy it is to kind of begin everything. To be able to play in the NFL and see the NFL game for what it is without having the audience or without having the fans, that is such a gift to a quarterback. Tua, holding him back, I'm usually on board holding quarterbacks back. But because of the crowd, because of the noise, because of all that being taken away, because it's almost like a practice, like a scrimmage, I think you have to get young quarterbacks in the game right now so that they can this is a get their feet wet moment instead of just jumping in the deep end. This is the best time ever for a young quarterback to be playing in the game in NFL history. And I don't think it's even close. That's why, I think we're kind of seeing a bit of a renaissance. Now, my question is how this will look in a year. Let's just say that next year is back to full stadiums, everything's back to normal. It's going to be interesting to see how these quarterbacks deal with that because the sophomore slump is a real thing. Once NFL defenses have a full season of game tape and stuff like that on a quarterback or a running back or whatever, they can scheme against them. So it's already pretty tough to succeed in your second year. Now imagine if you're Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert or whoever, and you went a full season with no crowd noise. You've never, ever played in front of a crowd in the NFL. You've never had to deal with whatever an NFL quarterback has to deal with in the huddle and at the line of scrimmage with a crowd. You never had to do that. So now, all of a sudden, you have an NFL defense scheming against you a full year of tape, and you have to deal with the crowd. I would not be surprised at all if we saw some of the most dramatic differences in a first year to second year ever next year. And so we need to remember that. If Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and maybe even Tua, whoever, if they take a big step back in year two, we need to go back to this and remember, oh, yeah, they're for the first time in 2 years playing in front of a crowd. I'll say this, too. People will say, well, James. Well, they'll say it much more rude than that. But they'll say, James, didn't Joe Burrow play in front of 100,000 people in college? Didn't he play in Baton Rouge? Didn't he play in front of... It's different. The noise isn't different, but their responsibilities are different. Justin Herbert, Joey Burrow, all these college quarterbacks are not calling the same complex blocking schemes. They're not reading the defense the same. The game at the line of scrimmage from college to the NFL is completely different. It is so much more advanced. That's why players like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, players that dominate at the line of scrimmage, that's why they're so good in the NFL. Let's go to chat real quick. What I think the difference between Burrow and Herbert is Burrow's mentality and coolness is far better than anyone else's as a rookie. Don't think a crowd changes his performance too much. What he has been saying in interviews and how he handles the huddle, his mic'd up game, so impressive. Yeah, I think Joe Burrow is fantastic as far as that. I think he's been that in his entire career. But a lot of the times, there's a reason that Matthew McConaughey is not an NFL quarterback. Coolness can only get you so far. So as much as I think that is good, as much as I think that's important, as much as I think that he has been fantastic, I think that there's one of those deals where that will only get you so far. Just like on the flip side, a cannon arm thrown at 80 yards on the run can only get you so far. You have to be able to handle both sides of the game. So that's one thing. Coolness won't get you an O-line. Yeah. He can't be super cool on Bumble and swipe right for an O-line. Joey B made me want to watch the NFL. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, a cool quarterback, there's a reason chicks dig quarterbacks, right? It's like an innate thing. Whenever you're like female deers, like male deers with big antlers, females like good quarterbacks. Guys like good. It's just a natural, innate thing. Good, cool quarterbacks make me want to watch. You know what I'm saying? I want to watch Joe Burrow. I want to watch Justin Herbert. Nothing better than a good quarterback. So I'll say this, man. If you like Joe Burrow, if you have loved Joe Burrow and have watched Joe Burrow and have been all in on that, give Justin Herbert a look. He's a super exciting player. He is incredible. I mean, I was kind of down on Herbert because I thought he was raw. I thought he had some learning to do even in college, and he's been so much better. He's been so much better for the Chargers than he was at Oregon. He's really good. He's really, really good. I would, like I said, if I had a vote right now, I'd vote Herbert over or Burrow. You like Herbert or Burrow's long-term outlook better as far as the franchise putting a team around them to win? Honestly, man. Honestly, dude. I kind of hinted at it. It just popped in, so you may have already talked about it. I kind of hinted at it. I'll rephrase what I said, but I said right now, if I had to vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I would vote for Justin Herbert. And I think right now, if you look at them as on a parallel of what they've done in the first 5 games, I think Herbert's been more impressive. Does that mean that I would take Herbert over Burrow? I'm not sure, but it's real close. It's real close. I may, honestly, I may. If everything was equal, if I was starting a franchise with the 2 quarterbacks, I might take Herbert, to be honest. The bigger story for this season is how Cincinnati's rookie linebackers and some of the secondary players are looking really good. Jesse Bates, next best safety. But yeah, I mean, I thought Burrow was going to run away with Offensive Rookie of the Year and all that stuff, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's done anything better than Justin Herbert. I really don't. And Justin Herbert has played better against better competition. I mean, the Chargers could easily be 4-1. I mean, they've blown games against the Bucs, against the Saints, against the Chiefs. I mean, how would Justin Herbert look if that team would have? And Anthony Lynn is so bad, and I say this every week. I mean, I've been dead on with these coaches. I've been dead on with which coaches are really failing. Anthony Lynn is really failing, and we'll talk about this during the Saints thing. But if they win those games, and all of a sudden Herbert beats the Chiefs, the Bucs, and the Saints, which I would guess at one point their team probably had an 85% chance to win or greater, what are we saying then? I mean, what's the narrative at that point? Let's move on here. I just wanted to make that note about rookie quarterbacks and why I think they're succeeding right now with no fans. I think that is something that, and this is something else. This is something else. I don't think anyone else in the media has said this, and so I want to go ahead and let everyone know that you're hearing this kind of stuff first right here on this stream. I don't think anyone else is talking about how these rookie quarterbacks are not dealing with crowd noise and why they look so damn good. Next up, Jags and Texans. Woo! Bounce back game here. Big bounce back game here for the Texans. The Texans lose Bill O'Brien. We talked about this on the preview show. We talked about this on the prediction show. We took the Texans on the prediction show. They were one of our 5 picks. Teams want to prove that they don't suck, bottom line. They want to prove that the franchise made the right move in getting rid of Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien, I think, was actually a decent coach, but Bill O'Brien was an awful GM. I think he got fired for his GM capabilities over his coaching capabilities. Texans bounce back. The Jaguars are so bad. The Jaguars, you talk about a team in total disarray. This team sucks. This team is real bad. Minshew, 31-49, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. This team, some of the stuff they did, the 4th down play with Robinson, really bad. If you're Jacksonville, you're begging to lose your next 11 games. You're begging to be 1-15 to get Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this team is a complete mess. They've got a great receiving core whenever they're healthy, but that's it. I mean, they got to fix things top to bottom. The Texans are roster-wise cheeks, but they have Deshaun Watson. If you have Deshaun Watson, you can make stuff happen. Here's the deal with Houston. Houston as a front office now has to, if it was me, if I was a GM, if I was an owner of this team, I would pull Deshaun Watson into a room and say, look, let's work to what do you need? What do you want? What do you think needs to happen? Who do you want to see me bring in here? What kind of a coach do you think we need? What kind of this do you think we need? And then you make your plan with him. You've already paid him. You already have your guy. Do you know how rare it is in the NFL to be really, really bad with a really, really good quarterback? It's very, very rare. There was a lot of really, reallys and very, veries in there. But you got to build around Deshaun Watson. The Texans are one of those teams. The Texans could be 5-11 this year and 11-5 next year. I mean, when you have talent like Watson, Will Fuller, when you have those things, you only need a little bit. So I would take the J.J. Watts and the Deshaun Watsons in and say, let's try and figure this out for the next 4 years. Let's try and figure this out because they don't need a full rebuild. They're not like Atlanta. Atlanta has to get rid of everybody. Atlanta has to get rid of the whole damn squad. Houston just needs to fill some stuff. Just fill some gaps, and they can be okay. Jaguars should be a no-doubt first-pick team, but will somehow fluke it up and end up like the third, fourth pick. The problem with Jacksonville is that they exist in the same universe as the New York Giants and the New York Jets. The Jags are better than the Jets and the Giants, in my opinion. So this is one of those years where, yeah, they probably should be the number one overall pick. But can they get there in the same universe as the Jets, as the Giants, even the Falcons? I don't know. I don't know about that. Let's see here. Next up, Dolphins 49ers. Big surprise here. Now, we're going to have a little discussion here, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure to get involved in chat. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we do this every week, twice live on Twitch, the football show, where we are, bottom line, we're doing what the Skip Baylesses and the Colin Cowherds and whoever they wish they could do. Dolphins Niners, huge upset here. This is really more of an upset. This is a much bigger deal than I think people are going to talk about. The Dolphins go to Frisco and completely dominate. I mean, this got so ugly. This is almost like Mel Gibson directed this game. That's how violent this was. 43-17. Ryan Fitzpatrick is 22 of 28 for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Now, here's the story. San Francisco benched Jimmy Garoppolo for C.J. Beathard. Jimmy Garoppolo was 7 for 17, 77 yards, 2 picks, was really bad, sacked 3 times. Beathard comes in 9 of 18 for 94 yards and a touchdown. Now, here's the problem. Now, here's what I see, okay? Why do you bench Jimmy Garoppolo? You're paying him $175 million. He just came off of injury. If he's rusty, whatever. It's 30-7 at halftime. Let him work through the rust. What are you going to get by going to C.J. Beathard? Now, I understand if you bench Garoppolo because he's hurting or because his ankle couldn't hold up or like some medical problem. I mean, if they come out and they say, look, we benched him because his ankle started hurting him, he couldn't pivot, he couldn't push, whatever, we're protecting our guy. Sure. To me, this is them sending a message saying, we don't know who the quarterback is. Well, you can't send that message when after you pay that guy $175 million. Going to chat here. They said they benched to save him, so they came out and said that? Okay, see, I saw it was on. Okay. Because I was really curious about this because I watched the post-game interview with Kyle Shanahan, and he seemed like he was just making the move. He mentioned that Garoppolo was rusty. He mentioned he made some bad throws, but I never heard him back his guy. So if he said that, if he came out and said that later on, then that's okay. I understand that. But this is a team in real disarray. I think if you're looking at the 49ers, you can go ahead and take a look at that when the Rams were bad for a minute there, when the Rams really struggled, when the Rams were right after the Super Bowl and they kind of fell apart, because of salary problems or injuries or Jared Goff, whatever. The 49ers are heading in that same direction. The 49ers are actually probably in a worse situation than the Rams. The Rams probably had more talent. Plus, I think Jared Goff's probably better than Jimmy Garoppolo. But if you're looking at the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, and you're looking at this team, you take away the Super Bowl season, and you have some real questions. And now that Nick Mullins is bad, Nick Mullins might be on a bus back to Hattiesburg, Mississippi at this point after his performance on Sunday Night Football. The 49ers are not looking good. I'll tell you this right now. This is called a hot take, ladies and gentlemen. If I could invest in a team, if I could buy stock in a team, I'll tell you, over the next 5 years, I think the Carolina Panthers will have a better 5 years from this season forward than the San Francisco 49ers. I think the 49ers are in a real bad situation because this year is a wasted year. This year is a wasted year right here. They're not doing nothing this year. All right. So then they're going to start paying these guys. They're going to have to start paying people, and they can't pay people when Jimmy Garoppolo is sucking up $200 million. So then they're going to start losing guys. And if they start losing guys, you already see what this team looks like if they're losing guys. You already see what this team looks like not at full strength. You think Richard Sherman is going to bounce back and all of a sudden be a dominating defensive back? No. He may never play again. Like, there's a big problem in San Francisco. And it ain't just the price per rent, okay? 49ers have a great front office and some real talent. They'll be fine. But do they? That's kind of what I'm saying. Do they? It was to protect Jimmy G, so it might be a save morale situation, a hockey goalie situation. If they got to find a new quarterback, so be it. But that's about it as far as the roster goes. But that's easier said than done. You can't find a new quarterback when you paid your guy $200 million. So are they stuck with Jimmy G? I mean, are they stuck with him throughout this contract? I don't know. Frisco's got some problems, guys. Frisco's got problems. 49ers defense is going to be all right when they get healthy. The issue is offensive talent outside of Kittle and maybe Mostert is kind of shit. Well, that's the same thing with the Rams, right? Is that the Rams had a good defense, but they couldn't keep everybody. They could not keep everyone. So I don't know the contract situation with a lot of these guys, but I would guess they're not all locked up for the next 3 years. So this year's a waste. So who's going to walk? Who's going to be out of there? Who's gone? Who's coming back? And that's something to look at with San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco is a team that's you're penciling in 10, 12 wins anymore. I think they're on a downward slope until they kind of rebuild the Garoppolo kind of area in here. As far as Miami, I say this every week, but I love Brian Flores. I love Miami's coaching. Fitzpatrick is kind of a stopgap until Tua. I'm not going to offer a ton of feedback on Miami until we see Tua. I think this is like what Fitzpatrick can give you. Fitzpatrick can give you wins like this. He can give you surprise games, surprise wins. I mean, this stat line's incredible. So this is not every week. He's super up and down, super streaky. But if this team wins, 6 games, 7 games, that sounds about right. I'm interested to see what Tua looks like. Like I said, even though Fitzpatrick is playing well, I would still get Tua in as fast as possible just to get him that rep without the crowd and without any of the noise to be able to ease into an NFL game. Next up, Colts Browns. Colts Browns. This is tough. This is tough right here because Cleveland, maybe Kevin Stefanski has something going on in Cleveland. Maybe they do. Maybe they have something going on. Maybe Stefanski was the missing pieces. I mean, coaching is a really big deal. This game is a big game for Cleveland. This is a game that Cleveland loses every other year before this year. They're playing a really good defense in Indianapolis. Baker Mayfield threw 2 interceptions. They didn't run for 300 yards. And they still won. And they won pretty comfortably. This game really wasn't super close the entire time. I mean, I watched this game because we had Indianapolis. We all I bet on Indianapolis here, so I was watching every second of this. Cleveland, pretty chill. Pretty chill win. I'm not, it's hard. It's hard for me to give a lot of love to Cleveland because I don't think Cleveland's very good. But maybe Kevin Stefanski's proved me wrong. He easily could be. If they're winning games like this, this is probably the most impressive win the Browns have had in the last 5 years, in my opinion. To win this game with if they win this game, but they have 300 yards rushing, it's understandable, right? But to win this game when you don't really get much from anybody, like Baker has a pretty whatever game, your running game is okay, and to win this. Impressive. Now, on the other side of things, let me say this about Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers is terrible. The NFL right now has a crop of really good young quarterbacks and a crop of really bad old quarterbacks. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. Phillip Rivers is terrible. Phillip Rivers, and we've said this before. We've said Indianapolis has a ceiling. We said they have a ceiling as long as Phillip Rivers is there. This team is not going to win with Phillip Rivers. This team may not even. I mean, they're a playoff team, but this team, well, maybe not. Maybe not though with Phillip. I mean, it's hard to imagine this team not making the playoffs with 3 wildcard spots with that kind of defense, but with Phillip Rivers, I'm not so sure. I would love to see Indianapolis go and make a play for like a Matt Stafford or someone like that. You know, you go just bring in a quarterback, but man, Phillip is terrible. I mean, he lost in this game. He threw a pick six, threw another pick at the end there. He was really bad. Nothing else I can really say about him. I think Indy has a really talented roster. I love their coaching, but it's obvious that they will not win with Phillip Rivers. So good on the Browns, great on the Browns, really bad at Indy, like really bad on Indy. This is a terrible game. Indy's offense is in shambles all around. Rivers ain't good, but neither is anyone else. Colts are really bad at wide receiver. I mean, this is a team. I just don't think that they can win with Phillip Rivers. I mean, that's as simple as I can say it. I think their ceiling is very low with Phillip. I think his time is done. It's over. I would rather have Tyrod Taylor than Phillip Rivers. I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks I would rather have than Phillip Rivers. Jameis Winston is probably a one. I would rather have Jameis Winston. I may rather have Mitchell Trubisky than Phillip Rivers. He's awful. He is absolutely terrible. Let's keep moving. We're almost done here. Giants Cowboys. There's a lot to talk about with this game, and not a lot of it is on the field. So let's start first with the Giants. I say this every single week. Daniel Jones is not an NFL quarterback. Daniel Jones does not have the ability to play quarterback in the NFL. The Giants are in a really bad spot. They don't have Saquon Barkley. They don't have anyone. They're hurt, and they have Danny Jones. Danny Jones, another fumble, like 19 fumbles in his career. They're awful. They have a brand new head coach. This team could easily go 0-16. Team's really, really bad. They jumped up to a big lead here, and Dallas does what Dallas does, comes back. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. This is the real story of this game. Dak Prescott getting hurt was terrible to watch. Dak Prescott getting hurt was awful because I'm someone who's believed in Dak Prescott. I'm someone who has said that Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback. He's really good. He's underrated. People like to hate Dak Prescott for some reason. People don't believe in him for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, Dak Prescott has been better for the Cowboys than Ezekiel Elliott has been in their careers. And for a second there, nobody would have said that. No one would have said, yeah, I would rather have Dak than Zeke. But Dak has been way better than Zeke during their careers. The big conversation of should Dak get paid this offseason it looks so bad now, right? This is why I always advocate for players to get paid. I'm not saying that every player should get paid, but I've always understood why players hold out. And this is the only time in human history where the crowd, the audience, the whoever, the Monday morning quarterbacks, this is the only time where these guys side with billion-dollar owners and billion-dollar corporations. Dak Prescott asking for a contract, and all you hear is people saying, no, he just needs to play the game. He just needs to play because he loves it. He just needs to do this. What? In what other universe would that be a thing? What other universe? If you're working at your office job and you're saying, man, they're not really paying me enough. I'm getting kind of screwed here. I need a new contract. Could you imagine if one of your coworkers was like, dude, just work for the love of it. Dude, just put your head down and work. What? Screw you. It's my life. It's my livelihood. I ain't doing that. Like, in what world does that make any sense? And it only happens in the NFL. Le'Veon Bell, I was really, really vocal with Le'Veon because Le'Veon, I think, was on his 5th year or 6th year in Pittsburgh without having a contract. He got franchised twice, I believe, out of his rookie deal. So this is a running back who was arguably the best running back in the NFL for a few years and one of the top 10 wide receivers in the NFL, playing on a rookie deal or on a franchise deal at a position that has the highest turnover in the NFL. And people were saying, well, why is he bitching? Why is he bitching? Why is he trying to get a contract? What are you talking about? Could you imagine if your work was like, hey, man, for 5 years, hey, man, we're going to give you a new deal, a new salary, a new situation every 6 months. And it's like, well, I've been working here for 4 years. Can I have I need some consistency. I need some kind of security. No. We're just going to keep doing every 6 months or whatever. It's like, I got a family. I've got this. And people get wrapped up into the whole well, he made $30 million. It's like, just extrapolate it down. Just extrapolate it. When you're one of the best 32 people in the world at your job, you can make $30 million. Okay? Go talk to the CEO of Google. All right? So I've never understood that. And that's all to say that this whole Dak Prescott stuff, you heard a lot of people complaining that Dak was holding out and Dak was trying to get his money. And then they had the story that Dak turned down $175 million, which turned out not to be true, which people like Doug Gottlieb are still pushing to some kind of weird narrative. But you've got those same people who were saying Dak should not get paid are now asking Jerry Jones to pay Dak. This is where I come in. If you are not going to pay Dak before, you certainly don't pay Dak now. So the question is, what the hell is going to happen with Dak Prescott? His injury, disgusting. His injury, gruesome. But as far as I know, it was a broken bone, dislocation. To me, that's a much easier healing process than an ACL or something like that. Now, again, I'm no doctor, but I have no doubt Dak will come back. I have no doubt in that. But you just have no clue how these players do come back. You have no clue if Dak will be hesitant to run. You have no clue if Dak will be the same player. I mean, he's obviously going to miss this year, so you don't know a year of rust. I mean, what kind of player will Dak Prescott be? If I'm Dak Prescott, I'm probably planning on leaving Dallas. I'm probably planning on moving somewhere else. As a Saints fan, I would be jumping up for joy to have Dak Prescott in New Orleans after once he comes back. Dak Prescott would be the perfect quarterback to take over after Drew Brees. This would be such a great time to have Dak. Let him heal up from his injury. Let him watch Drew. Let him learn from Drew. And then turn over the keys to the Ferrari to Dak Prescott. That would be an absolute dream. Will it happen? Who the hell knows? Now, if you're Dallas, you're kind of stuck here. You have Andy Dalton, who I think is a capable backup. I think is fine. But you have a super talented roster. Now, I think Mike McCarthy's a joke. I think Mike McCarthy's one of the worst coaches in the NFL. I think Mike Nolan's a really bad coach. But Dallas has got to be on a clock where Dallas has to be thinking, okay, let's say we go the whole year with Dalton. Relatively wasted year. What do we do then? Do we wait another year for Dak? Do we see what he's doing? What do we do with him? Do we give him another franchise tag? Do we give him a 1-year deal to check out his injury? Do we give him a big deal, which would seem kind of weird? What do we do with Dak? Or does Dallas make a big move for another quarterback? Do they make a move for a big free agent quarterback or move up in the draft or something like that and try and just say, it is what it is, we're moving on? I think that's much more likely that they'll move on from Dak Prescott. If you were not going to sign Dak before, it makes absolutely no sense to sign Dak after the injury. So we have to pretend he's moving on. This, to me, would be a really good time for Dallas to fire McCarthy, get his ass out of there, go through the season with whatever happens, and then relatively rebuild with a new quarterback, new coach, all that stuff. And this is the prime time to go get a coach like Lincoln Riley or a Sean McVay type clone. That's who you need in Dallas. You have a super high, potent, powerful, super incredible offense. All right, with a good quarterback, whoever that may be, Ezekiel Elliott, probably the best receiving core in the NFL, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper. This team can play. All right, this team can play the game. So you go get a coach like McVay, a young, even like Cliff Kingsbury, a coach like that with this offense. That's what Dallas needs moving forward. They don't need a dinosaur coach like Mike McCarthy who cut his teeth on running the ball 75% of the time. You don't need that. this is the moment for Dallas, in my opinion. This is the moment that they have to grab the reins and take this franchise to the next step. Because they've been kind of sitting in these waters of 8-8, 9 wins, no playoffs, playoff exits, all that. This is the time for Dallas to make the big jump forward. It's going to be hard to do as far as new coach, new quarterback, all that, but this is the prime time to do it. I hate to see this injury for Dak Prescott because I think Dak is a hell of a guy. He came out, talked against mental health. People like Skip Bayless came out and shit all over him for it. Said that, there's no place to talk about mental health. His brother dies. Dak is kind of like LeBron, where off the field or even as an ambassador or whatever, he's been great. Like, he's a really stand-up guy, and people just don't like him. And I think that has a lot to do with playing in Dallas because people just don't like Dallas. But I hope Dak heals up. I have no doubt he will. It's a tough injury. It's a really tough injury. It's a scary thing. Whenever your bones are sticking out of your skin, it's not easy to lace up those cleats again. Just ask Joe Theismann. So, obviously, best wishes to Dak, but hopefully this makes people realize that, these guys are playing a very volatile game. And just because you're making some money doesn't mean you shouldn't get paid. I've been advocating for a long time for the franchise tag to be changed and for players not to be able to be franchise tagged out of their rookie deal. I think that's the whole problem. I think the whole problem is that you can franchise tag someone for multiple years, but you can also do it out of the rookie deal. I think what should happen is you cannot be tagged after your rookie deal. So you have to have a contract. If you want to tag somebody after, if it's a rookie deal and then you sign a 2-year, $20 million contract, and then after that you get franchised, whatever. But I don't think you should be able to lock up a player for 5 years without offering them a contract. I think it's crazy. I'm surprised that it hasn't got changed yet. So I've been advocating for that for a while. Hopefully we'll see some change. I would not be surprised at all if this injury was the straw that broke the camel's back and we finally see some change. Moving forward. 3 games left. Vikings Seahawks is a long show. This is a long show. Jeez. Vikings Seahawks. I'm trying to do the rest of these kind of quick. This was Russell Wilsoning all over the place. What a player. Russell Wilson, I think, is the best quarterback in the NFL. I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's amazing, but who the hell else would you rather have than Russell Wilson right now? With a game on the line, one drive, give me Russell Wilson. You talk about a player. I've been saying the things I've been saying about Russell Wilson this year, probably I deserve to have a restraining order put against me. I love this man. I would start any company with him, start any franchise with him. He is your guy. He is one of the best people on the planet, and he just so happens to be able to throw a football 70 yards. What a guy. There was never a doubt in my mind they were going to win this game. Never a doubt in my mind. Because the Vikings have Kirk Cousins, and the Seahawks have Russell Wilson. That's really all you need to know. It's funny, during this game, the announcers were like, Minnesota is not a drop-back team. And that's the nicest way I've ever heard someone say Kirk Cousins sucks. And man, that's exactly what happened. Minnesota should have won this game. This would have been a huge win for Minnesota to go to Seattle and get this win. This is what Seattle does, though. This is what they do. They are never, ever out of the game because of Russell Wilson. That last drive, I think, converted 3 4th downs, including the touchdown to DK Metcalf. What a player. As far as Metcalf, DK Metcalf might be the 100% the best receiver in the NFL. I'm not really sure who else it would be. You could say Mike Thomas. I'm talking about people who are playing, like people playing right now who has played this season. I think Metcalf's number 1. I think he's the guy. And if you look at his receptions, he has 20 less receptions than DeAndre Hopkins. He has 20 less receptions than everyone else. So if DK Metcalf got the same service that DeAndre Hopkins does, there is no telling what those numbers would be like. Hopkins is the guy who you could argue is up there. But look at this. This is something I looked at the other day. So Hopkins has 45 receptions. Metcalf has 22. 22. Hopkins has 53 targets. Metcalf has 39. 528 yards to 496. 5 touchdowns for Metcalf, 2 for Hopkins. When I'm looking at this, it's like, I mean, I'm not a wide receiver coach. I can't be like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins has better hands. I don't know that. So if I'm looking at these games and I'm looking at Metcalf is way younger, Metcalf is way bigger, Metcalf is probably faster. And then if you think about, man, what would happen if DeAndre Hopkins or if DK Metcalf had 23 more catches? What would his numbers look like? If he did the exact same thing he did on this, he would have like 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. Like imagine if Hopkins was number 2 and Metcalf was number 1 with like 300 more yards, 6 more touchdowns. I mean, DK Metcalf, if he was getting the same service as Diggs and Hopkins and Anderson, like if he was getting the same service as these other guys, even Amari Cooper, like how much better would these numbers be? I think we're looking at a season that is like a Randy Moss type season where he is dominating and he's quietly dominating because of how explosive Seattle is with Lockett and everybody else. But what a player DK Metcalf is. It's crazy he slipped that far in the draft. It really is. What a player. All right, Monday Night Football, Chargers Saints. Oh, my God. Okay. Where the hell do I even start? Good win for the Saints. Great game from the Chargers. Great game. Let's go back here. Hold on, before we get to this. I'm not a huge fan of the imagine if someone has many catches as someone else argument because creating space as a receiver is a skill in and of itself. But Metcalf is a dog, basically Megatron. I think there's a lot more to that, to be honest. I think there's a lot more variables too. You had me until the creating space part. I don't think there's a lot into it. It's certainly not all of it. Like, I don't think the only difference between catches is a receiver making space or creating space or route running or anything like that. Like it would take like a $12.99 per month subscription to Pro Football Focus Next Gen Stats to figure out the difference in those targets and in those receptions. So I'm not a coach. I can't do that. I don't have the time to do the research, but maybe Chris Collinsworth can do it. But I got a feeling it's a lot more about scheme. It's a lot more to do with, Russell Wilson. You got to think about DeAndre Hopkins. He's a lot of targets and a lot of receptions behind the line of scrimmage. So it's one team where there's a lot of screen passes involved and there's a lot of that stuff. And you take all that into, there's a lot to consider. So it certainly is not a 1 + 1 = 2 situation. But I think you can say DeAndre Hopkins is doing what he's doing with half of the service, regardless of the reason, of everybody else. And that in itself is pretty wild. It's kind of like the Barry Bonds stuff where, Barry Bonds was doing what he was doing, but he was also getting walked 150 times or whatever it was a season. So if you give him just a third of those at-bats, then you wonder what the hell would his stats look like then? It's like, yeah, obviously him getting walked is a big part of it. Obviously, you can't do that, but it is worth noting. Like he's doing these numbers, he's doing these things with so much less service. Scheme is for sure a factor, but route running ability and lateral quickness are receiver skills that for sure contribute to ability to get open and make catches. Agreed. But I don't think you can say like those are factors in getting open. But I think it's a big stretch to say these are the reasons he's not getting those catches, right? Like, it could be scheme. So how much of a difference is that statement? How much of a difference is he has 20 less catches than DeAndre Hopkins because the scheme of, one, DeAndre Hopkins getting so many screen passes, so many short passes, and two, the Seahawks spreading the ball out so much. That's a very different statement than DK Metcalf struggles with route running ability and lateral quickness as far as creating space. So one of them is like, okay, you can kind of just like throw that out there, and it might be true, it might not be true as far as the scheme, but to throw out that he is negatively contributing to his catches is a big thing in my opinion. So I don't think it's fair to say that unless we have data to back that up. Unless there's a route running percentage or something, or a route running, efficiency tree. Unless I can see that, I don't think we can do that. So, all right, let's go to the Saints. This was one of those games, man. This is Sean Payton to a T. That's what this is. I complain every single week about Sean Payton, and people don't understand why. This is why. Sean Payton gives me an awful first half. Absolutely terrible first half. Alvin Kamara had like 4 carries in the first half, was getting out-carried by Latavius Murray, Taysom Hill, and whoever else was in the building. Taysom Hill, look, Taysom Hill is like the iPod Touch. At one point, the iPod Touch was absolutely awesome. The iPod Touch was sweet. Everybody liked the iPod Touch. I had an iPod Touch. One of the best gadgets in the game, right? Well, come a year later, iPod Touches weren't a thing. I sold my iPod Touch to a pawn shop for 2/5 of liquor. And that's the truth. Right? I don't want to talk about it, but it happened. iPod Touches are worth nothing. iPod Touches are useless, and they were useless about 2 years after they came out because iPhones got better. There is a chance that Taysom Hill had his time as a gadget player, and it's time to move on. Taysom Hill should not be running the ball anymore. Taysom Hill should not be catching the ball anymore. I mean, he had how many targets? He had 2 targets. He had 3 carries, and it felt like I watched him play 40 snaps. Every time he came in the game, it used to be, wow, Taysom Hill is about to do something amazing. And now, every time he comes in the game, people are like, just don't fumble. Just don't screw this up. And yeah, he ran in a touchdown, but it is what it is. Drew Brees, one thing I'll say is that I think Drew Brees is for sure, I hope people are done with the whole idea that Drew Brees is not a good quarterback anymore. Drew Brees is obviously still a good quarterback. Drew Brees has stretched his arm out, all these memes about noodle arm Drew Brees and all this other stuff. If you're still doing that, if you're still saying Drew Brees is just dumping the ball off, if you're still saying Drew Brees is still not pushing the ball downfield, flat out, you ain't watching the game. Get your ass off TikTok, quit liking all of Addison Ray's videos, and watch the game if you're going to comment on it. That's what I'm saying. Because if you're still sitting here going, Drew Brees, nothing but screen passes, I bet you know the damn redemption dance or whatever it's called on TikTok, but you don't know nothing about what's happening in New Orleans. Drew Brees playing really well. Really happy with how Drew Brees is going here. I do think a lot of his issues lies in Sean Payton. If you watch the first half of this game, the second half of this game, it's a tale of 2 stories, or a tale of 2 halves. All right, that's the story. That's what's happened. Drew Brees in the first half was nothing but these terrible-ass plays where we'd be moving the ball pretty well, and all of a sudden, Sean calls a screen pass, then Sean calls another screen pass. Oh, it's 3rd and 12, and Drew Brees has to try and make something happen, and it's just not there. And then we punted. That's what happened the entire first half. What happened in the second half? We got away from the screen passes. We started exploring the middle of the field. Emmanuel Sanders, 12 receptions for 122 yards. Alvin Kamara, 8 receptions. It started to be back to that normal New Orleans offense. And then we looked really good, and we dominated the rest of the game. Defensively, still terrible. Defensively, still lapses. I don't know what the deal is with some of our defensive backs. The last touchdown we gave up, the 60-yard pass on a 3rd and 10, that's like exactly the problem, right? The exact problem is we give up. I mean, it was exactly the issue all game. The defense does an amazing job. Stops Los Angeles. What do? We run into the punter on a 3rd and 14. What the hell are we doing? Extends the drive. They score a touchdown. Then, the last touchdown, all of a sudden, 3rd and 11, we give up a 60-yard wide-open touchdown pass. You take away those 2 touchdowns, which absolutely should not have happened, and this game is very different. I thought this game was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like 24-13, somewhere in there, because I figured the Chargers would not be able to run. The Chargers would not be able to move the football, and I thought the Saints were going to be able to just kind of systematically pick apart the Chargers, which is what happened, except for 2 crazy-ass touchdowns. Another thing with this game is the whole idea or the Sean Payton's inability to use Alvin Kamara. Look, Alvin Kamara is the best player on the field. This is his team. You just paid him $75 million. I don't want him splitting carries 50-50 with Latavius Murray. I don't want that. I don't want Alvin Kamara having 11 carries and Latavius Murray having 8 and Taysom Hill having 3 and the fullback having 2. I want him touching the ball. I want him having the ball a majority of the time. We are better when Alvin Kamara is involved. It's his team, specifically when Michael Thomas isn't in the game. So the time, I've said this before, I feel like Sean Payton thinks there's 5 quarters in an NFL game, and then somewhere around halftime, he realizes, oh shit, oh my God, we only have 4 quarters? Okay. Forget all the reverses, forget all the Taysom Hill plays. Let's just give Kamara the ball a whole bunch and try and score. When we want to score, it seems like the Saints score so easily. It seems like they score just so damn easily. But we punt, like we either score easily or we punt. We're never ever, it's never this consistent thing. And that's something that's driven me crazy about Sean Payton his entire career, is that one year, Alvin Kamara will touch the ball 20 times a game. The next year, he'll touch it 8 times a game. It's like, hey, Sean, what the hell happened? Sean just gets these wild hairs. Another thing that I think is being way overblown is people saying the Saints offense is bad. I don't understand how the Saints keep scoring 30 points a game and Drew Brees keeps throwing for over 300 yards. And I get, like, right after the game, all I heard from Ryan Clark was saying that this Saints offense is similar to the Denver Broncos when Peyton Manning was there. It's not even close. The Saints are good. Like, you got to think offensively. You got to think this is a team that's not playing is playing without their best player, Michael Thomas. I mean, this is the best receiver in the NFL, right? This is supposed to be the best receiver in the NFL. The Saints are not playing with, and they're still doing this. I mean, look at this. This is their games this year. This is the points the Saints have scored. 34, 24, 30, 35, 30. Does that sound like a terrible offense? People are acting like this New Orleans offense is like bottom 5. We're scoring 30-plus points a game without the most important non-quarterback in the NFL. I mean, this narrative is insane. This narrative is so screwed up. I don't think New Orleans is a Super Bowl team, but these games are this kind of how this is all worked out. I'm right back to believing that this is an NFC Championship caliber team. Not that we're going to win it, but I think we can get there. I think right now, who have we lost to? We lost to a Raiders team who's proven to be pretty good. We lost to them on the road in the worst spot ever on Monday Night Football, the first time in their new stadium, their max motivation. We lose to them, and we lose to the Green Bay Packers. All without Michael Thomas. Like, how different is the Packers game if we have Michael Thomas? And people are out here acting like the Saints are the worst offense in the NFL and acting like this isn't even a playoff team. I think we're miles away from Tampa Bay. I think we're way better than Tampa Bay. And I think that we're pretty similar to the Rams and those. We're probably like the 3rd or 4th best team in the NFC. Somewhere in there. It's like Seahawks, Packers, and then it's like, Saints, Rams, somewhere in there. Man, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I don't think that's that bad. I think the narrative's gotten out of control. Now let me say this about the Chargers. I talk about Anthony Lynn a lot, and I don't know how he still has a job. Let me tell you what's not the move. What's not the move is Justin Herbert is lighting that ass up. You're scoring points, and then you decide to run the football into the Saints' strength, their run defense. You decide to run the football into the Saints for the entire second half and just beg them to come back. What is the reason that the Chargers lost to the Buccaneers? Because Anthony Lynn decides to run the ball with 15 seconds left in the first half. They fumble, Tampa Bay scores. He has cost them 2 games against 2 really good teams that they should have won. Justin Herbert was really, really good this game. Some of the throws he made were incredible. What the big difference here was no interceptions. I thought for sure you would see him throw an interception or 2, and I thought that would be the difference. It's something. It says something about a team whenever you lose the turnover battle but win the game. Saints lost the turnover battle, won the game. That's a really big deal. That's good for the Saints. I think the Saints are way better off than people give them credit for. I think still the problem lies in the defense as far as stupid-ass penalties, extending drives. If we figure that out, I think everything's okay. As far as that, aside from that, Sean Payton needs to get his life together. Alvin Kamara needs to get the ball more. He needs to completely remove. I was telling somebody this week. I would love to see Sean Payton's play sheet before the game so I could cut out half of it. I'd cut out all the reverses. I'd cut out all the Taysom Hill stuff. I'd cut out all the garbage. We are the kings of it being 3rd and 7 and throwing a 3-yard pass. Throw it downfield, Sean. Drew has proved that Drew can do it. Touchdown pass to Jared Cook. Made a lot of other really good throws. He's not afraid to stretch it out. Look at these passes. 28 yards to Kamara, 41 to Jared Cook. Obviously, some of these are after the catch. But Breeze is not afraid to extend the ball. Let him do it, Sean. Let him do it. Let's not do the first half like we did against L.A. Let's do the second half. Let's play like that more, Sean. Unbelievable. Good win for the Saints, though. Good comeback win there. Chargers played well. I feel bad for Justin Herbert, but Anthony Lynn sucks, so it is what it is. Just going to chat real quick here. I want Kamara and Murray having similar touches in the backfield. I just want Kamara to also have about 10 catches. Yeah, right. Let me amend that. If he has 10 carries but 10 catches and Murray has 9 carries, that's a bit of a different story, So as long as that is the case, fine. But the idea that, hey, wow, Alvin Kamara is averaging 5 yards a carry. Why is he not running the ball the most? I don't get that. I don't even want them splitting carries, honestly. If Kamara is playing how he's playing right now, let him run the damn football. Just let him run. Let him do what Le'Veon did. I don't need Latavius Murray 10 times a game. I do not need that at all. Not unless we get a fifth quarter. If we get a fifth quarter, sure. Last game, Bills-Titans. Titans 42-16. Oh, baby. This was a surprise. Titans rested, dude. Titans well rested, boys. Real well rested. Titans haven't played in who the hell knows when. Haven't practiced. Quarantined up out of their mind. I've explained this before. Buffalo is really good, but Buffalo only goes as far as Josh Allen. That's it. If Josh Allen doesn't have the best game of his career, they just can only go so far. He threw 2 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill threw none. That's really all you need to know about this. Fumbles. Buffalo also lost a fumble, so they were -3 in the turnover department. Hard to win games like that. One thing I'm a bit concerned with if I'm Buffalo, I'm a bit concerned about their defense. Buffalo is supposed to have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Before the season started, they were saying that it is, or it would be far and away the best defense in the NFL. How does the best defense in the NFL look? Let's see. Jets scored 17 on them. That's fine. Miami scored 28 on them. The Rams scored 32 on them. Vegas scored 23 on them. Tennessee scores 42 on them. And, now they get to go play Kansas City. So we're looking at this team, and it's like, y'all are supposed to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. Y'all are giving up this many points. Why? Why are y'all doing that? What's happening? How is this possible? They have allowed 142 points, and they've scored 139. That ain't great. So not a good look for Buffalo at all here. I think the narrative that they are a super talented roster may be getting picked apart a little bit, and maybe it's just Josh Allen and some other fellas. So I've been pretty high on Buffalo, but I think this is more of what they are. They're more of, hey, is Josh Allen that great? Hey, is he that dude? Is he the man? If he wasn't the man, they probably lost. I lost the game by half a point. Thanks, Buffalo defense. Yeah, it feels bad, man. Feels bad. Let's do the power rankings, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's take a look at it. This is the power ranking list. Oh, what the hell? Let me get my power ranking correct here. Not sure how this has happened. All right, here we go. All right, so we have from last week, we have Kansas City at 1, the Seahawks at 2, Packers at 3, Ravens at 4, Bills at 5, Patriots at 6, Steelers at 7, Titans at 8, Rams at 9, Saints at 10. So what happens now? Chiefs obviously fall. I think the Seahawks are the best team in the NFL right now. Packers are on a bye week. So what can I do? The Chiefs fall. I'm going to put them at 3. I'm going to say that the Chiefs are the number 3 team in the NFL. Seahawks number 1. Look, Russell Wilson playing Russell Wilson playing the way he is, plus the Packers didn't play. So the Seahawks are now the number 1 ranked team in my power rankings. Packers number 2. I still have Chiefs at 3. I'm not going to put them under Baltimore since they skull-drug Baltimore just a couple of weeks ago. I think Baltimore is fine at 4. I think Baltimore is still a really good team. I think Baltimore is a really good defense with a pretty suspect offense. They're kind of like Buffalo. They need Lamar Jackson to be the MVP. If Lamar Jackson can't be the MVP, then they probably can't win the Super Bowl. Buffalo, obviously, they are going to fall. They got slapped up by Tennessee. I'm going to put Pittsburgh at 5 since Pittsburgh won their game. New England's on a bye week, and they're COVIDed up out of their mind. I don't know what the hell's going to happen with them. Pittsburgh, I'm really impressed with them, honestly. Their front 7 is about as good as we've seen in a long time. And as long as their offense can just hang in there, and they've been doing more than hanging in there, this team can be dangerous. If Baltimore and Pittsburgh, that's a really close matchup to me. New England, I'm going to drop them a little bit further. I'm going to put New England up here. I'm going to put Tennessee up here. I'm going to put the Rams up here. So Tennessee, you can't argue with it. I mean, they're getting results. I still don't know if I trust this team compared to like the Steelers and the Ravens and all of them. I mean, the Titans are dangerous because of how good Derrick Henry can be, and I think Vrabel's a good coach. I think they're a very well-coached team. I think they have some good weapons. It's just how good is Tannehill? One of those teams where they're kind of like Pittsburgh, where if you let them stay in the game, they have the capabilities to win every game. If they played Green Bay and beat Green Bay, I wouldn't be surprised, but also wouldn't be surprised if they got beat by 20. So Tennessee's a dangerous team is the same way that Pittsburgh can. But they're right in there. The Rams, super impressed with the Rams. I think Sean McVay is doing right now. He's probably the coach of the year. Sean McVay has been really good. I think this is where he's at his best with kind of moving the chess pieces around, getting the most out of Jared Goff. Sean McVay right back to being the prodigy coach that everyone thought he would be. Bills, really bad loss. Really, really, really bad loss there. Really bad loss. They fall. They drop down. The only reason I don't have New England ahead of them is because of so many variables with New England. So many variables. Who's playing quarterback? Who's on the defense? Can they play? Who's got COVID? Who can breathe? Who can't breathe? I have no idea. The Saints, and because New England I don't have any way to look at them. I'm still going to move them down a little bit. We'll put the Saints up there. I'm hesitant with the Saints because they're this close to losing to the Chargers. And then it's like, where do I put them there? So I bump them up because of the win, but I don't bump them up too much. I need to see a complete, consistent couple of weeks from Sean Payton and the Saints before I can move them up any further. I still think I still have them as the 4th best team in the NFC. So I've got them at the 4th best team in the NFC. Honorable mention. Honorable mention, probably the Browns. Probably the Browns is honorable mention at 11. After them, Oakland's up there. Or Vegas. I keep saying Oakland. And then after them, Chicago. Tampa's probably still hanging up in there somewhere. Probably it. So that is my new top 10. Congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for being the new number 1 team in the NFL, followed by Green Bay, Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, St. Louis, a.k.a. Los Angeles, Buffalo, the New Orleans Saints, and the New England coronaviruses. So that is my power rankings. Nice little show there. God, does anybody do it like me? I say no. An incredible NFL show there. Thank you very much for listening, for joining in. Chat, always enjoyable to get chat involved in the NFL show. So it makes the show so awesome, is being able to talk with chat, being able to answer questions, have some dialogue. They can tell me where I was right, all those fun things. And I can tell them where they were wrong. We have a new segment where we want to talk about the predictions. We're flirting around with chat, gives me predictions on Friday, and we see how they did. Chat was an absolute embarrassment per usual. They predicted that the Jaguars would score like 30 plus on the Texans. That didn't work. They scored 14 points in one of the worst offensive displays in history. And we also had a very far off, not even close prediction that the Vikings would beat the Seahawks straight up. That also failed miserably. So, bad week for Chat. Really, really off week for Chat. I don't want to harp on them too bad, but if y'all want to go to their individual Twitters and completely just flambe them in every single way, that's fine with me. I would not be surprised at all if their houses were egged, their cars were scratched. I mean, it's really, whenever you step into the Thunderdome, that is this stream, that is this podcast, and you make predictions, you want to make sure those predictions are correct. Just to step into the Thunderdome and slip on the banana peel, it's not easy. It's not easy for anybody. I have a feeling Chat will bounce back. We'll see their predictions this Friday. Friday, I'm hoping that they come a little bit more prepared. I hope that they have some solid reasoning. I hope that they get their lives together. And Friday, they come in here correct with some solid predictions in here. So we'll see what happens there. Thank you again for listening, guys. I appreciate that. Chat is not happy. But thank y'all very much for listening to the NFL show. Another fantastic week.